Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Matters of Faith, the radio show. Matters of Faith is a show designed to bring
Good evening,
issues of interest
everybody,
to you, the
and
listening
welcome to
audience,
Matters of Faith,
that will
the radio
challenge,
show.
encourage,
Matters of Faith is a
motivate,
show
and
designed to
inspire
bring
you
issues
to
of
keep
interest
the
to you,
faith.
and welcome to
I
Matters
am your
of Faith,
host,
the
the Reverend
challenge.
Dr. J. Lauren Russell, and it's my job to engage you in stimulating dialogue that's inspiring, encouraging, motivating, dialogue and conversations that will help you build your determination, your commitment, and your character. Conversations that will help you keep the faith. Everyone born of God overcomes the world. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. 1 John 5 and 4. And now, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, without further ado, it is time for Matters of Faith, the radio show.
Don't forget to support.
Good evening, everybody. It's Monday, October 16th. It's 8 o'clock, and it's time for Matters of Faith, the radio show. You know, I'm your host, Reverend Dr. J. Lauren Russell. I'm also the producer. And tonight we're talking about the article as well as the topic, Gainfully Employed. And my very special guest tonight is a dear friend. We need to see each other much more than we do when he comes on the show. Reverend Dr. John Adams, pastor, First Easley Baptist Church in South Carolina. So, Matters of Faith family, telephone, tell a friend. You don't want to miss this show tonight. Gainfully Employed with Reverend Dr. and Pastor John Adams.
Don't forget to support
Let me
our
add just one more
advertisers and
thing.
our sponsors. Don't forget to support our advertisers and our sponsors, the JLR Company and J. Lauren Russell Consulting LLC, for all of your church financial consulting needs. Check out our website, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. That's www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. Or simply give us a call, 718-328-8096. 718-328-8096. If you want to train your trustees, if you want to develop your property, if you need a church loan, give us a call. We'll be there to help. Matters of Faith, the book, can be purchased at my Cash App, $Matters of Faith. The cost of the book is $22.80. That's $22.80. You can send your check or money order to the JLR Company, Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. That's Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. Get the book. It will absolutely bless your life. You can also get it as an ebook. All you need to do is go to www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. That's www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. The book has no shipping and handling if you get it as an ebook. And also check out the Eat Okra app for all black-owned restaurants all over the nation. That's right, Eat Okra. And finally, subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Don't forget to support our advertisers and our
Let me
sponsors,
add just one
the
more thing.
JLR Company and
Get
J.
your
Lauren Russell.
subscription to Better Mag magazine today. A 2-year subscription is only $27.50. That's www.abettermag.com. www.abettermag.com. I want to thank each and every one of you for contributing and even praying for the fundraiser that we had for Michael Bailey this past Saturday. I just wanted to show you some of the photos. Well, the two photos, but the rest of these are pictures of his drawings. Mariano Rivera, Tupac Shakur, Bob Marley, Michael Jackson, Miles Davis, Lady Day, Prince, Madonna, Selena, um, Whitney Houston,
Amy
just to name
Winehouse.
a few. But I want to thank you and keep him in your prayers, keep him in your heart. The picture that you see in the center is myself standing there. Michael, that's him on his motorized scooter, which now is paid for. Roz, a fellow Rotarian of mine who actually sponsored and put that fundraiser together on Saturday, and Jeff Gilbert, the doctor who made all of this possible by introducing me to Michael. And to the lower right, that's Michael Bailey. And I'm holding a picture that he drew of Aaron Judge in the garage of Jeff Gilbert. So, my Matters of Faith family, thank you so much for your support and your love. This is Michael Bailey, otherwise known as Zebra. And now the article, Gainfully Employed. And that article can be found in my column Matters of Faith at the Bronx Chronicle, www.thebronxchronicle.com. It can also be found in the Yonkers Insider, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. You can find it in Better Mag Magazine, www.abettermag.com, Black Westchester Magazine, and Pamela's Big Heart newsletter, Gainfully Employed. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 7 from the New King James Version. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to each one for the benefit of all. Gainfully employed. Have you ever wondered why you are able to do what you do? Have you ever asked yourself why you have the talents that you have? Let me ask this. Are your gifts and talents for your enjoyment or your employment? The manifestation of the Spirit Paul is talking about in 1 Corinthians chapter 12 references the very gifts, talents, and abilities given by the one God who is Lord of all. He lists the manifestation of some of those gifts: the word of wisdom, the word of knowledge, faith, ability of healing, working of miracles, prophecy, discerning of spirits, different kinds of tongues, and interpretation of tongues. Paul suggests that gifts are given liberally with the expressed intent of being used to bless others. As you examine this brief list of gifts, you will see that each one, wisdom, knowledge, healing, miracles, prophecy, discernment, speaking and interpreting tongues, languages, are all great internal gifts that are birthed on the inside of us, but are only of benefit when they are demonstrated on the outside. They were given to you to pass through you. I recently had a real-life experience of this internal gift that is only of benefit when it is externalized. This weekend, I attended a fundraiser for a homeless but gifted artist, Michael Bailey. Michael is an exceptional artist who draws and paints sports and entertainment celebrities. He envisions them in his mind, but until he puts pen, paper, or brush to canvas, he's the only one who is blessed by his gift. However, once he expresses his inspiration on paper, the world is a better place because his gifts were given for his employment, not his enjoyment. This is oxymoronic because his employment is his enjoyment. When Michael is painting, drawing, and putting on canvas what he has in his spirit, in his own words, time stands still, and I am in my own world. Michael is the living example of someone who is gainfully employed even though he has no roof over his head, a bed of his own, or a table to dine. I suggest that each of us take a long look at Michael Bailey and consider what it means to be gainfully employed. Be blessed. And now here's my question. In what ways are you employing your God-given gifts, talents, and skills to benefit humanity? Let me ask it again. In what ways are you employing your God-given gifts, talents, and skills to benefit humanity? This really gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce to some and to present to others my guest tonight, Reverend Dr. John Adams, pastor of Easley First Baptist Church in Easley, South Carolina, where he has served since 2001. Prior to taking on the pastorate at Easley, John served on staff at churches in North Carolina, Virginia, and Texas. Pastor Adams received his BA in history from Furman University, magna cum laude, a Master of Divinity from Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, and a PhD from Baylor University in religion with a focus on the history of Christianity. He has served as adjunct professor at Anderson University for the past 11 years, teaching the history of Christianity in their master's program. He's also taught at Gardner Webb Divinity School and Furman University. Dr. Adams recently co-edited with Dr. Cecil Staton, former chancellor at Eastern Carolina University, a book, Walk With Me, Memories, Reflections, and Essays celebrating the life of James Milton Pitts. Dr. Pitts served as associate chaplain and chaplain of Furman University for almost 40 years. The book was published this year by Smith and Hilwis Press. Pastor Adams was born in Bryan, Texas, to Reverend W. Marion Adams, who is deceased, and Carrie Frances Adams. He is a PK, along with his three sisters, Lydia, Rebecca, and Sarah. He has been married to Donna, his lovely wife, for 38 years. They have one son, Joshua, and one daughter-in-law, Alexa. John's passion is to invite everyone to the banquet table of Jesus Christ. Matters of Faith family, would you welcome with me again tonight my very good friend, my brother from another mother, and this awesome man of God, Reverend Dr. John Adams, pastor, Easley First Baptist Church in Easley, South Carolina.
Aha. Very good. Very good. I'm going to stop my share right about now. John won't be with us until about 8:30, but I wanted to introduce him so that everyone would know who he is. So when he gets in, he could just jump in when he can get in, and we will take our conversation further when he gets here. But for you, as for you, I want to challenge you with the question that I've asked tonight. I'm going to ask it again, but this is my way of getting you involved right now. So we have about 19 minutes to get this started. So in what ways, I'm going to type it into, in what ways are you employing, I'm using that word specifically, you know that, right? In what ways are you employing your gifts, talents, and skills to benefit humanity? So can I ask it again? In what ways, I'm typing it into, I can't type and talk. I'm not a typist. And I told you that I failed typing. In what ways are you employing? And I'm using that because that's a part of what we're talking about. Your gifts, your talents, got to get it right, talents and skills to benefit humanity. I would say needy humanity, but actually all of humanity. So the question, in what ways are you employing your gifts, your talents, and skills to benefit humanity? So there it is. So now I want to challenge you to talk to me. Give me an opportunity to talk to you. Before John joins us, talk to me. That's the challenge question tonight. You read the article. I'm talking about being gainfully employed. And as you know, I like to do, I like to kind of use words and ideas differently so that we can look at them holistically. I'm talking about employment, but I'm also talking about your walk of faith. What are you doing with the gifts that you've been bestowed? You've been given gifts, so what are you doing with them? And we'll talk a little bit more about what that really looks like going forward when you're utilizing, when you're putting to work those things that the Lord has given to you. I was preaching yesterday, and in my sermon, I actually preached twice. So one of the sermons was my childhood church, Grace Gospel, and it was their 99th church anniversary. And so I said to them that the Lord has been blessing them for 99 years. And in those 99 years, what have they done? Where have they gone? What have they done, and whom have they been a blessing to? So they have been sustained for 99 years. Different gifts, different talents, different skill sets, with one main purpose. And that purpose is to move people to be the best that they can be. To be the best that they can be. So those of you who are with me tonight, I want you to engage that question. In what ways are you employing your gifts, your talents, your skills to benefit humanity? Because the only way you can actually benefit
from the gifts that you have been given is by giving them away. I hope you heard me. The only way that you can actually benefit from the gifts that you have is by giving them away. Dennis Waitley, who was a psychologist, he's passed on now, he's a great psychologist with great thoughts and things of that nature. And he said, don't die with your music still in you. And I think that's a great thing to think about. Don't die with your music still in you. Don't die with all that you can do still tied up in you, and take your resources, take all of your blessings with you to the grave, which is, by the way, the richest place in the universe, because it's where people have taken all of those skills, talents, abilities. That's where they are. When they never let them out, they're buried with them in the cemetery. The cure to AIDS, the cure to violence, the cure to wars, all of that in the graveyard. Don't die with your music still in you. I think that's a good way to open up this topic tonight without having a guest on right now. So I'm challenging you to talk to me and challenge you to look at what skills, what talents, what gifts you have been gifted with. You know, in my article, I talk about Michael Bailey, and I showed you some pictures of Michael. So I showed you some of the drawings that he's done, some of the pictures that he's drawn. He's an incredible artist. And he has no place to lay his head. He has no bed to climb into at night, not even tonight. He has no table to put his feet under and eat a meal. Yet, they call him Smiley. And yet, he blesses people all over the world, and they don't even know it because of the work that he does. And it's going to expand even further than local surroundings where he is, because of things that I'm doing, things that other people are doing, bringing to their attention the great work that this man is doing, homeless, but drawing and making masterpieces right where he is. And those masterpieces will be enjoyed and shared by people for years and years to come. Long after he's gone, it will be a legacy that he'll leave. Why? Because he's pouring out of his spirit those things that he had been gifted with. He's been gifted with these abilities. And those abilities, when put to canvas for him, become a blessing for us. So when he's painting, when he's drawing, when he's putting together these pieces that exist in his mind, but then he brings them to reality, suddenly he becomes, doesn't matter that he's homeless. Doesn't matter that he have a roof over his head. Doesn't matter that he have a bed to lay his head. It doesn't matter that he doesn't have a regular diet that he can eat, food at a table in his own place of residence. None of that matters. Of course, it's important to us. It's important to him. But it doesn't matter when he's living in his purpose and he's exercising the gifts that God has given to him. He is gainfully employed at that point. He's gainfully employed. And the thing that you may not know or you don't know, I'll tell you about it, that Michael used to own one of the largest Black-owned art distribution companies in the country, made $1 million a year, year after year after year. But by the grace of God, he fell on hard times and has been homeless for a number of years. And he said yesterday that some of the people that he helped make wealthy, I mean extremely wealthy, he called them. He said, I was sleeping in a storage facility and I was cold. And I called a man that I had helped make millions of dollars and had built a $5 million home in Atlanta. And I called him and said, can you help me? I'm hungry and I'm cold.
and he turned his back on him. Now, this was the same man, he said, that told him and publicly that that's my best friend. He said that when I was helping him make millions. But when I was down and out, he turned his back on me. But man, when this man is drawing, producing, he's gainfully employed. Gainfully employed. And now people have taken notice. Dr. Jeff has taken notice. Dr. Jeff has taken upon himself to be this man's brother. Oh, two different worlds. One's homeless. One's a retired doctor. But they were brought together. Anna, thank you. One of my gifts, she says, is having faith and showing others that with faith, all things are possible. I'm learning to be transparent and giving my testimony about what faith has done for me and do for them. That's amazing. That's beautiful. That's a wonderful thing because, you know, once you live in your purpose, and I say this a lot, you may have heard me say it before, but when you are on purpose, when you're gainfully employed, and I'm using those sort of like in similar language, gainfully employed, being on purpose, all means the same thing. When you are gainfully employed and on purpose, you become a magnet. You draw to you everything that you need in order to be the person that the Lord created you to be and to stay on purpose. Everything is attracted to you. Everything. And here's the crux of that. Here's the crux of that. If you get off purpose, you're still a magnet. You just attract to you everything that's negative. When you become a magnet, you're always a magnet. So be careful that you stay on purpose. Stay on your job. Anna asked me, is it possible for me to have Michael on one day? I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. I sent him the link to this tonight. And if he happens to come on, I will bring him on. I sent him the link. I sent him the article. I sent him, in fact, he's read a few of my articles. He liked them. And when I saw him on Saturday, he asked for the article again, and I sent it to him. I said, I'll send you the one on Sunday as well. He did not know, and I did not know that I was going to write about him. But after I went to the fundraiser, I was compelled to do that, to introduce you all to Michael Bailey. Level of trust. Share your gifts. Never kick a person when they are down. Tomorrow they may be the president. We're all God's children. And Anna says yes. I'm so elated that that we can share our gifts and talents, because you know it's not boasting nor bragging that God has given you something, but it is putting it out there, and it is holding yourself accountable. Not me holding you accountable, but hold yourself accountable for being who you were created to be. Do not allow yourself to be less than you're supposed to be. You know, I've shared with you a few times in the past this poem, or this saying about by oh my gosh, what is her name? I'm gonna share it with you again tonight because I think it's just that powerful. I'll share the name and I'll share it with you again. It's a wonderful saying about who am I to be? It was actually stated by let me see, hold on for a second. I can't even think of the name of it, but it'll come to me in a minute. But it talks about reducing or lowering yourself so that others feel comfortable around you. You know how sometimes you water down who you are so that other people don't feel intimidated by you? I don't know if you've ever done that before. I used to do it all the time. I used to do it all the time, just lowering myself and not being me because I didn't want other people to feel uncomfortable around me. You may have felt that way from time to time. Who are you? I'm going to find this thing for you before the night is out. I promise you I will do that. It just, the name of it just escapes me and it will not come to me. So I better let it just let it flow. Just let it flow. So in the meantime, I want you to answer that question. Those of you who are watching, and thank you, Anna, and thank you, Lovelo Trust, my dear cousin. Thank you. But I want to engage you. I want to hear what you have to say. I understand, and this is Cheryl. I understand about being less than just to get along. Yeah. We can talk about that too, because as you try to make other people feel comfortable around you, what you are actually doing is you are actually what's the word I'm looking for? You are denying yourself. You are denying yourself. And that's not good. That's not good. That's not good. Okay, here we go. I got it. Marianne Williamson. It was from A Return to Love, a reflection on principles of A Course in Miracles. Now, you may remember this because Nelson Mandela said it when he was inaugurated as president. Denzel Washington said it in The Great Debaters. And it goes like this: our greatest or our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is written and within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. You've heard that before, haven't you? Well, if you haven't, you heard it now. And that's a wonderful thing, because we need to be challenged to step up and to step in and to allow ourselves to use the talents, the skills, and the abilities that the Lord has given to us so that we can be a blessing to others. Because when we do, we liberate other people to do the same thing. When we don't do it, we literally are not only pulling ourselves or hindering ourselves, but we are hindering everybody else's growth and development. Don't go along to get along. No, don't do that. Be gainfully employed. And by gainfully employed, I mean do your job and do it well. You've been given an assignment. If you were working on a job, you would be given an assignment. This is your job. If you don't do that job, you will be let go. Sometimes they'll let you go and you're doing the job. So you know what they'll do if you're not doing the job. So you have a task. You have something that you've been assigned to do. Do that thing and do it to the best of your ability. Lorraine says, be who you are, never lessen yourself. Then we can't learn from one another. Show your strengths, as simple as another learning a new word. Yeah. You should learn a new word or do something new every day. Every day. If you're not growing every day, then that means that you are literally dying. Anything that's not growing is dying. So we have a choice as human beings. We can choose to remain stagnant, or we can choose to become viral and just keep reproducing over and over and over again. Thank you, my brother. Happy anniversary to me. Next week, Tuesday is my anniversary. And by the way, I should tell you this. Next week, Monday, I am not going to broadcast Matters of Faith. I am not. I'm going to be on my other honeymoon. So I will not be on next week. Telephone and tell a friend. We will not be on next week. And having said that, that's a really good segue to my guest tonight. My very special friend and guest, Reverend Dr. John Adams, is now in the house. So I want to welcome him. And watch this. I got a picture on the screen. He's going to pop up in a minute. That's not John. That's Joshua. Joshua is John's son. And Joshua said, and he said to his dad, oh man, I want to go and I want to support you and Reverend Russell, fine. And Joshua beat his dad here. I didn't want to tell y'all, but I got a special surprise for you. This young man here is phenomenal. How long have I known you, Joshua? 10 years, 12 years?
A few years, yes, sir.
You were I think elementary school, junior high school.
Yeah.
Now he's married.
Yeah.
And here's his dad. This is my friend, my good friend and buddy. I've already introduced him. I've read his bio. They know who he is, all that kind of stuff. So as soon as he comes in, I'm going to ask him a question. As soon as his face pops up, I'm going to ask him a question. But let me ask you a question, Jonathan, since you beat your dad here. Tell us something about you. We don't know anything about you. So give us a little bit of background. Tell us who you are. Tell us why you're here, and then we'll get to your dad.
Oh, look at him. And there he is.
Hey. How's it going?
It's great. How are you?
Doing good. Sorry for the delay.
Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry. I was fine. I was priming the pump.
Yeah. Well, it's you want me to answer the question, Pastor
Yes,
Russell?
sir. Yes, sir.
I'll begin by saying it's so good to be here tonight. I still remember pulling up your show years ago when you first had my dad on. So it's sweet to be here. Something about me, I would say, well, I married my high school sweetheart, Alexa, and we've been married now for 3 years.
Wow.
And I currently get to work helping families and schools navigate the internet. With a company called Parent Protect. So we're trying to help protect students and help them build a healthy relationship with everything that's on technology, because there's a lot out there.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I've been challenging. I'm with the Rotary Club.
Yes, sir.
Actually, I'm the district governor.
Yeah, I saw it.
So, and I'm also a minister, and I'm leading a church, and several others I've been working with. I'm challenging all of my younger people, particularly, to help those who are technologically challenged, so that they can navigate this world in which we live, because there's so much out there, and so many are intimidated by it that they literally say, I don't want to be bothered with, and they just kind of shut down. But if they don't learn how to do this, they're not going to be able to function well in the world in which we live. And so I'm challenging my young people to do exactly what you are saying, and that is to help and they don't have to be seniors. They just have to be technologically challenged.
Yeah.
Navigate the world.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's what we do every day. We talk about social media. We talk about platform, AI, gaming, try to help, because there's a lot of families that, they may give their kid a phone and not exactly know the good, the bad, the ugly.
Right.
So that's why we're here.
Well, you know what? I might be calling on you for that. Yes, sir. John?
Well, and what they do, they go into schools and help schools navigate, but they also have a way that any individual can get into what they do. It's a very modest fee, but it helps parents. Like, he's got one video where he's got a youth teaching them the lingo.
Yeah.
The lingo that we don't understand the lingo. And So it is incredible. It's a New Start company that they have been blessed with a grant. So it's a very deep. In fact, Joshua taught over 200 people today in a school district across the nation. So what you're saying, Lord, is true, but people don't know the resources out there. And Joshua provides videos and teaching that are short, to the point, and understandable, made for people like me who are what do you call, immigrants instead of natives. You know.
I like that. So Joshua, are those videos, etc., available to people like me that I can use them to share them with others?
Oh yeah, you can see more on our social media and on our website. So it's Parent Protech, like the word parent, and then Protech is PROTECH.
Well, I've written it down. I'm going to do that. And if not, I have your telephone number. I made you a new contact, so I will be in touch with you, because I really want to do that. I think it's so important. I was at conducting a meeting, a president's training meeting for Rotary, and I said to them, I did like this. I said, I pulled out my phone and said, how many people live in this world? And all the young people, the people under 40, 30, they all put their phones up. The others, they were sat there. I said, how many would like to live in this world? And everybody put their hand up. And I challenged them to do that, to do a service project. And that's what Rotarians call when they do something for humanity, service projects. So I said, look, I challenge you to do a service project, reaching out to the challenged individuals to help them navigate this world. And one woman sitting there said, I'd pay for that. I'd pay for that. She says, I'm just so frustrated. I don't know. Sometimes I can't do more than just make a telephone call or send and learning how to send a text.
Yeah.
So I think you're right at the very core, the heart of what we need to be doing.
And we're talking about gainfully employed, and that's where those of us who love tech can come alongside and
absolutely
live it out.
I think that's phenomenal. I really do. I didn't know that, so now I'm excited. I'm excited. So I'm asking the audience too. So those of you who are watching on Facebook, how many of y'all would like to have this kind of information available to you to help navigate through technological devices and things like that? You can just tell me later on. I'm just putting the question out there to learn it and understand it better. And by the way, I'm a chaplain. You know that, John. I'm a chaplain. Yeah. And so in my chaplaincy, we started a new class on Saturday, and we're doing this all virtually. We're doing it all by Zoom. So the application they have to fill out, they have to send it back, all electronic. And then some people say, I don't know what to do. I said, well, you're going to have to learn how to navigate it, because I don't want the paper. Paper is difficult to manage. I don't want to run after you trying to so you have to learn how to do that. And one of our participants had someone come over to her home and show her how to complete the application online and get it back to me. So at least I know she's gotten at least that far down that line, which is pretty important. So, now she can be gainfully employed to be trained so that she can be a chaplain and go and minister to people at their point of need with credentials. And I think that's how I want to put those pieces together.
That's beautiful.
We're working on it, John. We're working on it, man. We're working on it.
You amaze me at how involved you are and what expertises you have in diverse areas. I feel so challenged being around people like you.
Oh, and listen, you don't have to be challenged by me, because my slogan is not me, but we. If I don't know, I just have people that I can call on and say, listen, how do I do this? That's why I'm talking to Joshua, because if Joshua said yes. And when Joshua said yes, I wrote it down. Yes, he said yes. So I'm going to be reaching out to him and say, Joshua, I need your help on something, because that's how we get it done. I can't do all these things myself. No one can. But when we allow other people to come into our world, and we allow them, and they allow us to enter into their world, then we can make a difference in the world. That's the way I think we need to do this. I'm just going to dovetail for a minute and just kind of do just look at something, the tragedy that took place in Israel.
And one of the problems, I mean, I had a lot of friends who are Muslims, and one of my friends told me this is the most challenging week she's ever had in her life.
Oh,
She's
yes.
Muslim. She says, in my life, young lady, very, very gifted, intelligent, very, very, very good job, diversity, equity, inclusion with one of the major banks in the world. And she says most challenging. And it's interesting that I just happened to call her last night because she sent me a text, and the text was, she left the word out, and it was funny to me, and I called her. But it was a good thing that I did because she needed to talk to me and didn't even know it. And so we were talking about that. But think about what's going on in the world and how most of it is just due to a lack of real communication and a lack of love one for another. That if we simply loved each other, we would be able to get through all of our differences. In fact, in my article, and I said it again, that the differences that we have are not designed to divide us, but they were designed to pull us closer together.
Yes.
And I don't understand why people don't get that. Why can't we see that the friction is what makes things stick, not smooth? You put two smooth things together, they just slide right off. But when you put two things together that have that's what makes them free. Look at Velcro.
That's good.
Put Velcro together. You can't pull. You got to pull it hard to pull it apart. But you take the other two sides and put that. They won't stick anywhere. So we have to make the differences work for us.
Yeah.
Have to.
I totally agree. I just returned from Israel in February of this. It was my first trip, Lauren, over there.
Wow.
And what oh my. I've longed to see it in Baptist life too, in denomination. We are so divided denominationally. We love to point out our differences. We have in our church, our building superintendent's from Germany. He said, if you'll sit down with someone, I don't care who, you'll find they have some of the same desires and hopes and dreams. When Joshua was in Germany studying the European Union, he was a storyteller. And he would interview people. Joshua, tell them the questions you would ask them. And I mean, we're talking about in Poland, we're talking about in Germany and France. And Joshua would interview and find out what they want in life. Joshua, tell about that and how you found a common theme or themes underneath all that.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad. And Pastor Russell, you got one of my biggest fans on here. So he's just teeing me up, huh? My favorite question is to ask when I just approach someone on the street is, what's the hardest thing you're going through right now? Or even what keeps you up at night? And the people are always caught off guard by that. Occasionally I'll hit with what do you wish people understood about you? But I think there's something so unifying in the pain and the mess, because when it comes down to it, we all have the same struggles. We're all in many ways worried about some of the same things: relationships, family, putting food on the table, the bank account. So whether you meet someone who's a Muslim from Saudi Arabia, or a Christian from Arkansas, or a Mormon from Utah, there's something so unifying just in the pain and the struggle, and finding hope in that.
Joshua, it's interesting that you should say that. I think, well, I know this is a fact. The district of Rotary that I'm involved with is the most diversified district in the world.
Wow.
We're in New York.
Yeah.
We have every culture that you can think of in our district. We were awarded a couple of weeks ago a citation for membership growth for the last 3 years consecutively. which is unusual because, like every other institution, churches included, they're shrinking in number. We've been growing for the last 3 years consecutively.
Wow.
When we were in Toronto when we got this award, and when they announced it, we're the #1 district in 2 zones. We're comprised of 2 zones that go from Washington State all the way up to Canada. Over 65,000 members, and there's 42 districts in those 2 zones. We're #1. And when they awarded us that, I told my table, we happened to be sitting in the center table that evening in this particular meeting. And, like 10 or 12 to a table, we were all there. A couple of them sitting in other places. And I said, everybody stand up. And we stood up. And when we went on stage to receive the award, the past Rotary International president was there, Jennifer Jones. She's the first woman president ever of Rotary International. She was there. And their responsibility, they have to visit all of the districts around the world. And she said to us, she says, when you stood to receive that award, I saw the most diversified district in the world. Here's a woman who's traveled the world. And I've been talking about that. And it's interesting because what you said, Joshua, we have more in common. I don't care where we come from. I don't care what our background is. Educationally, socioeconomically, race, religion, we have more in common than we do that's different. And the only reason that we don't know that is because we don't talk to each other.
Yes.
It's the only reason. If we talk to each other, we'd understand. We'd say, oh, you going through that too? Yeah, I'm going through that. Wow, I didn't know. And then all of a sudden, the world becomes a community. Community. And that's the part that I think we so wrestle with, because everybody wants what's in it for me. So my theme for this year in Rotary is not me, but we. That's what I talk about. Not me, but we. We're going to do this together. And we've got a wonderful way to do it. We just by looking at not the things that we have that are different, but what do we have in common? We all have one thing. We all want to help needy humanity. We all want to do that. So that's the thing that binds us together. Now, if it pulls us together, we sit down, have lunch together, we're talking about things. Then all of a sudden, all of those preconceived notions, John, we sat down, right? The last time I was down in South Carolina, we went to a restaurant. We break bread together. And while we were sitting there breaking bread, we must have spoken to at least 5 or 6 different people who just approached where we were sitting at just to talk to us, because we were having so much fun engaging ourselves that they wanted to find out who we were. And the owner of the restaurant got to know him because of John. He's from Italy. I won't forget it. He's from Italy. And we were talking, and all of a sudden we're laughing about things that we have in common. All we have to do is communicate. That's it.
Well, see, my whole, Lord, coming up, my heritage is Baptism, but my PhD is in the history of Christianity. So I love all, but my perspective, we battled each other. We fought. We fought. And so I was raised on a mill hill in South Carolina, smokestack, make cotton products and all. And then I go to Furman, and more of an elite Southern school. And I saw, wait a minute, a lot of people in my dad's church had trouble reading. And then I go to Phi Beta Kappa, Magna Cum, all this, and I wait a minute, and I could see some disdain, and I said, wait a minute, we're all sitting at picnic tables, and we're shooting barbs at each other. Why can't we come to the one banquet table and feast together? Because what I found, Lauren Russell, is when I sit down with you, before long, I forget you're from the North and I'm from the South. We began to talk with each other, and the name Scipio comes up, and all of a sudden we have a bond that is so beautiful. And when we break the bread, and in the Christian tradition, that's what I'm part of. I don't look down on anyone that's any different, but when we come to that table and he gives us the new clothes to put on, and we put them on, and we sit there and we break bread, and he's the host and the feast, I don't see you as someone different. I see you broken like me, who has hopes and dreams and needs. And I begin, in our society, we see people as paradigms.
Yeah.
But Lauren Russell and Joshua Adams, I've yet to meet a paradigm in a person. I see people who are wonderfully inconsistent, may be conservative theologically, liberal economically. Doesn't make sense, but we're diverse. So get to know a person, let go of the preconceived ideas, because we're at the table that he invites us to.
Yep.
Lauren, that's my heartthrob. That's what keeps me going. That I want to see people come together across race, cultural, economic lines. That's what my passion is.
You got him going on the banquet table. That's it.
That's where he lives. That's where he resides.
Yeah.
That's where he resides. And that's what I like about it, because we don't, John and I, when we get together, we don't talk about things that don't really matter. We talk about things that actually make a difference. What makes a difference? Coming to the breakfast table, coming to the dinner table, coming to the table. And I say all the time, listen, the only way you will make a change in society is if you're at the table. You're not sitting at the table, your perspective is not recognized.
Yes.
Because there's no, I give you a good, for instance, I'll give you an example. When I was working for the Southern Baptist, I was riding with one of my dear friends. He was my supervisor, and we were in Virginia. And we were just talking. We left, coming from the airport, going to a church to do some consulting. And we were just chatting about things. And I told him, I said, yeah, I remember when I was a kid and we used to drive down to South Carolina, and I like to tell this story because we used to pack food up in the car. My mom fried chicken, we put it in the shoebox, and we'd have a cooler in the back, and we'd have all the drinks that we wanted back there. And we'd have food and macaroni and cheese and potato salad. For some reason, the potato salad never went bad. I don't know how. It never went bad.
Oh yeah.
Now. And so, and also we would also pack toilet paper. So we would drive down, and so when we said, Dad, I gotta go to the bathroom. Okay, he'd pull over the side of the road, we go to the bathroom. We thought this was fun. We would go to the nearest tree, my brothers and my dad, but my mother and my sister, they had to go a little further down, because they were women. So they go a little further down. That's why we packed the toilet paper. And it wasn't 2 years later that I understood why we had to do that. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a part of the traveling tradition. But we did it because we couldn't stop at the restaurants and we couldn't stop at the gas stations and use the bathroom.
Yeah.
So so my colleague looked at me and said, Lauren, I would never have thought of that ever in my life because it's not a part of my reality. I said, I know, it's my reality. But when I told it to him, it's almost like a light went on, a door was open, and he saw things differently. He'd never seen it before. Yeah. He said, wow, and then he asked me, how did I feel? I said, well, we didn't know to feel any different. This is the way it was. But we knew we had fun. It was fun to us, right? And we get to South Carolina, and this is in the 60s. I didn't know segregation was alive in the South in the 60s. I came from New York. New York, we have de facto segregation. What's that mean? That means you go to school where you live. Well, nobody lived in my neighborhood but Black people, so everybody in school was Black, right? A couple of my friends lived across the street. They were white complected, but they were the only white family in the neighborhood, the only ones. But they were my friends, my best friends. In fact, they still are to this day my best friends.
in my wedding. I was in their wedding. I was there when their mama died. They were there. Bob was there when my mama died. I mean, we've been there for each other. We always be there for each other. We never looked at each other from race at all. Never even crossed the barrier. In fact, their dad was white, their mom was black, but they, in fact, came out looking more like their dad. Look like you, Joshua. Look like you, John. Right? So they never were culturalized to be white. Never. And so when I look at that and I think about that, I said, so what was the difference between Bob, Peter, Cookie, and people who were Anglo from other places? What was the difference in perspective? What was the difference between my relationship with them and relationships with other people? It was only because we knew each other here. We were connected here. We love each other. I remember when my mom died, and she died suddenly. Bob and I were at my house, and she literally dropped dead, and she was taken to the hospital, and she never came home. And he was in the house with me, in my apartment. So I couldn't stay. I went across the street to his house. I said, I can't stay. Went back. I said, I'm going back. He said, I'm going with you. So we went. And we heard, when we lived on a 4th floor tenement building, at 5 stories, we lived on the 4th floor. When we got to the second landing, we heard people crying because my family had come to the house. And he and I stood right there on that, in between the second and the 3rd floor, and cried, hugged each other and cried. I don't know how long we stood there. I don't know how long we cried, but I know we cried and we cried because he felt as much pain as I felt. And then I said, yeah, let's go. He said, you ready? I said, yeah. Tears streaming down. We went upstairs. We walked in the house. But what I'm saying is that he was there. And so, you know, when I think about not liking someone because of the color of their skin, that doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me because Bubby was there. He was, of all of my friends, he happened to be the one that was there. I think maybe God was setting me up for something, huh?
Yeah.
I'm setting you, I'm gonna show you what love is really like so that you'll understand it. Because the places you're going to go in life, you're going to be able to teach it to others.
Well, that's powerful. That's powerful.
And you know, and you can't make this stuff up. I mean, you really can't. I mean, you see things, you experience things, and so you see it from a different perspective, and you try to share that with others, so that we can make the world, and I, you know, we have to make the world a better place. You know, my favorite saying comes from Dr. King: we must all learn to live together as brothers, or we'll all perish together as fools.
Yeah.
So, you know, what happened in Israel. I mean, you know what the consequence is going to be. They're going to turn around and do the same thing in reverse. For what? So now another 300 or 400 people will die or more. That make you feel better? Would that make your hurt go away? Will that make those individuals who died come back? I mean, so what's the point? We keep doing these things over and over again. What's the definition of crazy?
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Yeah. I mean, so I asked myself, so what are we doing? Why are we doing that? You know, because you want to be right. You want to be right. So you do anything that you can to be right. Even kill somebody so that you can be right. That doesn't make any sense. One of my viewers is she texted, that was Bubby Cohen from Boston Road. You're absolutely right. That's my brother.
Wow.
Bubby Cohen.
That is my brother. We are joined at the hip. And you know, when we were kids, we used to do the craziest thing. You know, we used to literally cut ourselves and take our blood and do this. And we blood brothers. So him and I, we were blood, but him and Peter and myself, we did that. We're blood brothers for life. You know, we figured that's it.
We didn't care. We didn't know it. We had no idea what AIDS was or anything like that. There was no such thing. So we just cut ourselves and put our hands together, and we blood brothers for life.
That's
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So John, here was my question for you. And by the way, I'll tell you what, let me do this. This is a good segue because technically speaking, and Joshua, you told me that you may have to leave. So if you do, I understand, but I do want to thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, Josh.
If you can stay, that's great. If you can't, I do understand it. It's okay. But I just want to let you know that I really appreciate your being here and you're just being a part of tonight's show, just to let everybody know that you care and that you're. So I want.
It's been great to be here, and I'm gonna stay in the comments. So I can't wait. Bye.
Well, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you, man. And let's stay in touch because I am going to be calling on you. I promise you. I'm going to be calling on you. I'm going to take advantage. I'm going to call on you for, parent protect. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, you got my number.
Do it. I do. So have a good night and thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right. So John, I'm going to segue. I'm going to go ghost for just a minute. And you can do likewise. I just want to go back and recognize the advertisers and the sponsors and things like that. So you see the screen up and so on and so forth. I want to go back and just give everybody, read the article and get everybody back on the same page. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Don't forget to support our advertisers and our sponsors, the JLR Company and J. Lauren Russell Consulting, LLC, for all of your church financial consulting needs. Check out our website, www.jlaurenrussell.consulting.com. That's www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. Or simply give us a call, 718-328-8096, 718-328-8096. If you want to train your trustees, if you want to develop your property, if you need a church loan, give us a call. We'll be there to help. Matters of Faith, the book, can be purchased at my Cash App, $Matters of Faith. The cost of the book is $22.80. That's $22.80. You can send your check or money order to the JLR Company, Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. That's Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. Get the book. It will absolutely bless your life. You can also get it as an ebook. All you need to do is go to www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. That's www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. The book has no shipping and handling if you get it as an ebook. And also check out the Eat Okra app for all Black-owned restaurants all over the nation. That's right, Eat Okra. And finally, subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel.
Let me add just one more thing. Get your subscription to Better Mag magazine today. A 2-year subscription is only $27.50. That's www.abettermag.com. www.abettermag.com. I want to thank each and every one of you for contributing and even praying for the fundraiser that we had for Michael Bailey this past Saturday. I just wanted to show you some of the photos. Well, the 2 photos, but the rest of these are pictures of his drawings. Mariano Rivera, Tupac Shakur, Bob Marley, Michael Jackson, Miles Davis, Lady Day, Prince, Madonna, Selena, Whitney Houston, just to name a few. But I want to thank you and keep him in your prayers, keep him in your heart. The picture that you see in the center is myself standing there. Michael, that's him on his motorized scooter, which now is paid for. Roz, a fellow Rotarian of mine who actually sponsored and put that fundraiser together on Saturday, and Jeff Gilbert, the doctor who made all of this possible by introducing me to Michael. And to the lower right, that's Michael Bailey. And I'm holding a picture that he drew of Aaron Judge in the garage of Jeff Gilbert. So, my Matters of Faith family, thank you so much for your support and your love. This is Michael Bailey, otherwise known as Zebra. And if you want any of these pictures, let me know. I can get them for you. And to answer your question, I think someone asked the question, Anna, whether or not I could get Michael to come on the show. I'm going to try to do that. I really want you to meet this man. He's an amazing individual who literally had one of the largest Black distribution art businesses in this country. And because of hard times, whatever happened, he found himself in a homeless state. But any one of these drawings, I can get them for you. Just let me know. And of course, whatever you pay for them will go to assist Michael. Let me make this announcement so that everybody knows. On next Monday, October 23rd, Matters of Faith will not air next Monday because I'll be celebrating my 36th wedding anniversary. Tell a phone and tell a friend. Don't tune in on the 23rd of October because J. Lauren Russell and his lovely wife, Evelyn, will be on their 36th wedding anniversary. Y'all pray for us. We love you. Nothing you can do about it. And I'll see you the week after. That will be the 30th of October. I think that's Halloween or something like that. I'll see you then. Y'all heard that, right? Next week, no Matters of Faith, I'm going to be on my 36th honeymoon. I'm going to read the article one more time. Gainfully Employed. And that article can be found in my column Matters of Faith at the Bronx Chronicle, www.thebronxchronicle.com. The Yonkers Insider, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. Better Mag Magazine, www.abettermag.com, Black Westchester Magazine, and Pamela's Big Heart newsletter. Gainfully Employed. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 7 from the New King James Version. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to each one for the benefit of all. Gainfully employed. Have you ever wondered why you are able to do what you do? Have you ever asked yourself why you have the talents that you have? Let me ask this. Are your gifts and talents for your enjoyment or your employment? The manifestation of the Spirit Paul is talking about in 1 Corinthians chapter 12 references the very gifts, talents, and abilities given by the one God who is Lord of all. He lists the manifestation of some of those gifts: the word of wisdom, the word of knowledge, faith, ability of healing, working of miracles, prophecy, discerning of spirits, different kinds of tongues, and interpretation of tongues. Paul suggests that gifts are given liberally with the expressed intent of being used to bless others. As you examine this brief list of gifts, you will see that each one, wisdom, knowledge, healing, miracles, prophecy, discernment, speaking and interpreting tongues, languages, are all great internal gifts that are birthed on the inside of us, but are only of benefit when they are demonstrated on the outside. They were given to you to pass through you. I recently had a real-life experience of this internal gift that is only of benefit when it is externalized. This weekend, I attended a fundraiser for a homeless but gifted artist, Michael Bailey. Michael is an exceptional artist who draws and paints sports and entertainment celebrities. He envisions them in his mind, but until he puts pen, paper, or brush to canvas, he's the only one who is blessed by his gift. However, once he expresses his inspiration on paper, the world is a better place because his gifts were given for his employment, not his enjoyment. This is oxymoronic because his employment is his enjoyment. When Michael is painting, drawing, and putting on canvas what he has in his spirit, in his own words, time stands still, and I am in my own world. Michael is the living example of someone who is gainfully employed even though he has no roof over his head, a bed of his own, or a table to dine. I suggest that each of us take a long look at Michael Bailey and consider what it means to be gainfully employed. Be blessed. So here's my question for the final time this evening. In what ways are you employing your God-given gifts, talents, and skills to benefit humanity? Okay, I'll ask it one more time. In what ways are you employing your God-given gifts, talents, and skills to benefit humanity? If you really want to know who my guest is tonight, Pastor John Adams, just look at the picture that's on your screen. That was one of the happiest days of his life, where his wonderful son, Joshua, was wedded to Alexa. And both he and his wife, Donna, were there. He officiated it. And now they have one son and one daughter in love. This is my guest. This is my friend. This is Pastor, Reverend Dr. John Adams. So how you like that, sir? That's all right?
Oh, I love that, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me stop my share and let's go back and talk to you. I thought that might make you smile.
Oh, that was phenomenal. And by the way, congratulations on 36 years. And I applaud you for taking that week off to honor your wife.
Thank you. Thank you.
I applaud you for that, and give my my love to Evelyn, your wife.
I'll do it. You know, last year we did that, and I took last year off too. And we actually went to a private concert.
Wow.
You know who was there? Boys to Men.
Are you serious?
Boys to Men. We're going to another private concert on Monday too. And the Romantics will be there. A little different venue. We're going to do that again. And I said, you know what? You know, some things take priority. This is a priority. So I'm going to take that day. I'm not going to broadcast. I'm going to take that day. And I think I'm going to make that into a ritual that I will use consistently on our anniversary. I'm not going to be broadcasting. Now I'm going to preach on Sunday, but we could do it virtually. But on Monday, that's it. For the rest of the week, I'm Evelyn. I'm gonna do my best to take my phone and turn it off.
There you go. There you go.
Turn it off.
Congratulations.
I want to be able to. I just want to be able to spend some time with her. I think she deserves it.
Yes.
I think she deserves to be.
Yes.
To have that time, to have my time. So, yep. So thank you. So John, this was the question I've asked everybody else. So let me as well put it out there to you, and we can start the second half of our show the way first half, we can do it right. In what ways are you using your God-given talents, skills, and gifts to benefit humanity?
Wow, that is a very, very good question. I kind of addressed some of that, but I'm going to go back to it because I think it's very important. I grew up in a minister's home, and so I got to see the church from the inside out. And some of my greatest joys and some of my greatest fears have come from my heritage. I watched my father pastored a small church. It did get up to like 150, 175, and then the mill closed. And Lord, we went down to attendance of 50 and 60. And I watched people who were unemployed. I watched my dad take people to see Senator Sam Erwin and also Jesse Helms, both sides. He said, I'm going to go wherever I can get help. And I watched people who had worked in the mill for decades, unemployed, untrained for anything else. And then I watched my father without any raise for 6 years. And that was as we were going into college. And so I watched as one person we had prayed to come into the church, and he did. And he led an effort to get rid of my father. And I remember being at college, and I had preached my first sermon when I was in the 7th grade, because we had a habit of getting on Youth Sunday, getting a younger youth and an older youth. Well, my first sermon was the athlete compared to a Christian, and Daddy would get me up before school, would go to church and work from 5:30 to 7 on the sermon. He said, I want you to get used to the discipline of study, reflection, of writing, thinking. And so from early on, I felt God was calling me into the ministry, but I've also watched those who assume that they're to do what their parents are doing, and they look like clones, and or either they're pushed into it. So my calling came over time. Affirmation by the Christian community, personal realization, conversations with my dad, other people, leaders like you, if you had been around when I was young. But I did this, Lord. I said, Lord, let me do anything but church work. I said, I can't take what I saw my father go through. I can't take having 3 at private schools, no increase, and mills shutting down, and people looking for blame. We have a tendency to find blame, and I remember being at Furman undergrad, and I called home one weekend, and it was Saturday night. Daddy was sick. He was going to preach. I said, no, you're not. I said, I'm going to preach. I said, you don't need to do that, Daddy. And I said, so I studied all night, got the commentaries out, studied, went to preach, but I prayed to God. I prayed to God that he would use me. I love to study and reflect, and I have a very average intellect. I study hard. I apply myself. I read. In fact, the reason I was late coming to your show is I teach online the history of Christianity for a Master of Divinity at Anderson University, because I love teaching. And I just love, pays not anything, but I just love being with the students and learning for them. I said, so Lord, I said, let me teach. Let me prepare those who are going to be in the church. And that way I won't have all these fears and these hangups. And that never happened, even after PhD. Never happened. I had the good grades, good as anybody else. I know I'm average, but I work hard. I said, Lord, I don't. And I had anxiety reactions, Lauren. I went to a counselor when I was at Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary. I was on Transine for a little while because of anxiety. I said, Lord, what am I doing? Am I going to end up like my dad? My dad had a great ministry, but I was focusing toward the latter part of what I saw happen. And I said, Lord, I can't. And plus, from 1979 on in Baptist life, we were like this with each other, and testing each other's theological saliva and trying to pigeonhole and paradigm people instead of looking at people as individuals. And I said, okay, I've already got this concern here, and I'm going into this. And here's what I've discovered. That God places us sometime in our places of greatest fear. So our absolute dependence will be on him. My mentor, I just preached his funeral. He was the one who would come over at midnight, Lord. Donna would call and say, John's anxious and he's nervous. And Miller would come over. Never condemn me. We would do independent studies on Calvin and Schleiermacher and the Princeton theologians. We would read theology and history together, and he would demand 50 and 60-page papers for MDiv, and he was very demanding, but he loved me and he challenged me. But he would come over and I said, Miller, I said, God's left me. I said, I've lost my salvation. Now, Lauren, don't diss me. I believe that when God calls you, he is once saved, always saved. If we want to talk about that, we can. But But in the moments that are bleak, sometimes you doubt what you know.
That's right.
And Miller would come to me and he would say, at midnight, 2 a.m., 10, whatever, knock on the door, smoke, they're like a smokestack. And he'd say, John, I said, no, God's, he said, no, John, God's never let you. One thing I know, and Lauren, as he was dying, and he was nervous, over the phone, I said, Miller, you remember when I thought I had lost my salvation and I was nervous? You told me God would always walk with me. And when he told me that, and I got to tell him on his deathbed, and I got to pray with him. So here's what I've learned. Here's what I am learning. I've often wondered, why didn't I have a full-time professorship? I don't think I would have delivered any spellbinding book, but I would have loved to have written about evangelicalism. But God has let me read and write on human hearts. Most people are anxious and fearful. They are afraid. Depression, anxiety is soaring. It's at an exponential rate among the young generation. In a convention that has been divided, where I have seen on both sides good people. And I've seen people want to climb ladders so they'll diss the other side. So what I try to do through the pain of my past and the joys of my past, that's where the banquet table has come from. That major on what matters, the perfect life, the death, the resurrection. That's called kerygma in the book of Acts. It's kerygma. That's what matters. And we come to that table and we unite around Jesus Christ. So I look at my love of the academy, my love of the church, my fears, and God has placed me in a place where I will never be able to say, I got this. I understand all of this. I'm an expert in this. Lauren, I feel like post-COVID, I may look 62, but I feel like I'm fresh out of seminary having to learn how to be a pastor all over again. And so I have found that when I can be transparent with my people, not vomit on them, but just say, I've got, and I was called to a church, the church I've been at for 22 years, that had one upheaval after another, good people, but somehow, and I said, Lord, you know my fears, you know my anxiety, and you're calling me here. So I related to him. I said, we don't need to go through this again. I said, I don't want you to. I said, I don't want my family to. I don't want. And I found a young lady in our church that because of our travail we had been through, decades after she was a child walking through this, she had journeyed to the verge of atheism. And I said, church, when we don't get it right, the next generation suffers. So, Lauren, my calling has been, it's complex, it's beautiful, it's raw, that he's placed me in my place of greatest fear, greatest concern, so that I can't say, watch me do this. Because I haven't got, I don't feel like I'm good at this, but I can love people. I can open the Word of God, study. I may not be the slickest presenter, but if they know I love them and understand their fears, their anxieties, their dreams, we can walk together. And so we're celebrating 150 years.
Wow.
And we just had the second service. We have one in September, one in October. And the third service is November the 12th. That's November the 9th is our actual date. And on that date, we're having a prayer vigil saying, God, you birthed it in prayer, and we're going to recognize it with prayer. And we'll be reading through the entire New Testament that day aloud from the pulpit.
Wow.
But on that day, Lord, on November the 12th, I've invited back 2 pastors that had a tough go here. And I said, I want you to come back and I want you to give us a word of hope.
Oh, that's
Because, because if anything matters to me is healing. Lord, church is not, I'll never be invited to write on some periodical about how your church grew exponentially. I believe my calling in life has been to bring people to the table and let them meet Jesus and not worry about the color of skin, the gender issue. Let them meet Christ. Let them experience our love. Take them to that love letter that took 1,000 years to write using a myriad of authors, and let them encounter the God within that Bible. So that's how I feel that God has taken what little I have to offer and offer it as an offering to bring people to the table. So that's it. They're not impressed with whether I have a PhD or not. But I told a man today, I said, you know, sir, I said, it's not long before you're going to meet God. I said, you remember we were standing on the Mount of Olives, overlooking the Kidron Valley, onto Jerusalem, right over the whitewashed tombs underneath. And we looked at Jerusalem. I said, before long, you will see the New Jerusalem. And so I get to do this, Lord. I get to meet people. And the anxiety that I had, the depression, counseling with Dr. Goodling at Duke Divinity School, I don't want to go through that again. But I wouldn't give anything for it. It was my seminary. And when I saw a professor, Glenn T. Miller, who had the mind of Reinhold Niebuhr, the heart of Billy Graham and Mother Teresa, come to my little apartment building and love on me and never condemn. Yeah. That's what gets me going. That's what you want to call me at 2 a.m. and talk about the banquet table and walking through tough issues through that, I'm ready. Other things I could care less. I could care less. But it's the banquet table. So that's how I've never felt especially gifted in this area. But I don't have any doubt he put me here for a purpose. For a purpose. During a time of incivility. And it was that Yale law professor, Stephen Carter, African-American evangelical, teaches at Yale, writes for a secular audience. He said, we need to rediscover civility and integrity. I'm looking at his books now on my shelf. They're called Civility and Integrity. And his thing on integrity, his first chapter, he says, you must discern right from wrong. He said, that is very difficult at times. You must also speak the truth, even at a cost, and you must do what is right, even at a cost. I thought that is beautiful. And civility is respect for each other, having the proper manners, giving everyone a seat, like you said so beautifully. Come on. If you're not at this table, your opinion won't be heard. You know. So that's my story, Lauren. And I know I kind of meandered.
No, you didn't. No, you're fine.
That's who I am.
You know, it's so refreshing to hear someone speak about life and the ministry in a way that captures the essence of what ministry really is all about. You know, it's not about how well you preach. No. I mean, if that were the case, then, you know, listen, just be an entertainer. I mean, I officiated a homegoing service today. And I do a lot of homegoing services. It's one of the things I think the Lord is given me as a part of my ministry. And so I got there, and I tend to be right on time, and I
Oh,
got
yeah.
there, walked in, did the entrance and all of that, got there. So I listened as I officiated, and then I listened to what people say about the deceased because I don't know them. I listen.
Listen.
And when they finish talking, I'll have prepared the sermon previously because I pray about it. The Lord somehow or another always gives me what's right for that individual, whether I know him or not. But today, I'm listening, and he was 92 years old, older man. People said some wonderful things about him. His two sisters were there. Two sisters. One was 93 and the other's 95. Both doing well. So I listened. His great-great-grandson was there. And he spoke. And in my sermon, I said to him, I said, you talked about meeting your great-grandfather. I said, that's a blessing. And he said it was. I said, because you said many people never have that opportunity. I said, and you're so right. You have been given a legacy handed to you. But the question is not whether or not you have it, but what do you do with it now that you got it?
Yes. Yes.
So you got to share that. So interestingly enough, I found out that this man and his family lived right up the street from where I grew up at.
Wow.
I said, and I laughed. I said, so your family? I said, I'm here because the Lord sent me, but your family. I said, you mentioned Cortona Park. I said, I'm at Old Timers Day every year. I said, I've probably seen him walking through the park because I go to park, I walk around the whole park when it's there. We have an Old Timers reunion. People grew up in the community, we go to a park, and people are cooking out all over the place and so forth. And I walk the whole park just to see if I see anybody I know, and just sometimes just to see who I see. And I said, I'm sure I've seen you out there. I know I have. And so it was wonderful. But when I got through, wasn't a preachy, I'm not a hooper, I don't, it's not my style. When I got through, they said, one gentleman walked up to me. He said, that was one of the most incredible sermons I've ever heard in fact, he says the best I've ever heard in my life.
Wow.
And I don't do it so that people will say that it's the best sermon. I do it because I'm trying to reach people and let them know that there's a way. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. That no man gets to the Father but by me. And if I introduce him properly,
That's right.
you will be interested in getting to know him too.
That's right.
I don't have to beat you over the head with him. In fact, another thing, we started a new chaplaincy class on Saturday. I didn't teach the class, but I'm the chief, so I spoke. And so I was interjecting here and there. And I said to the class, I said, listen, I said, please understand. So I said, you're studying to be a chaplain. Chaplains are ecumenical. I said, there'll be some places where you won't be able to say Jesus, but you still have to minister and meet people at their point of need. You have to do that. I said, and if you can't do that, if every time you go out, you have to say Jesus, this might not be the ministry for you. I said, because I said, oftentimes the walking sermon is more impactful than the talking sermon.
Yeah.
I said, because if they see you are the embodiment of what you believe, unless you don't believe it. So when I went to the fundraiser yesterday, it was multicultural. I get there, and Jeff Gilbert, Christian man, wonderful guy. He's suffering from cancer right now. I'm gonna pray for him tonight. I normally don't do that, but I'm gonna pray for 2 people tonight. Matter of fact, 3: Michael, Jeff, and my friend Ralph Hoist. The 3 of them. But I prayed an ecumenical prayer. I did not say Jesus in the prayer. I said the creator, the architect of the universe, creator of all things. Then I said, I'd like to pray for Jeff.
would you, anybody mind? I said, but I want to pray for him in my culture. Okay. In my system of belief. Does anybody have a problem with that?
I like that. I like that.
So I prayed for him in the name of Jesus, laid hands on him, prayed for him head to toe. Everybody said amen, just like I asked them. They said amen. A couple was sitting there, called me over to the table, sat down with them. They were from Syracuse. And I said, how interesting is that? I said, I just got a call, literally, just while I was here today, from a friend of mine who pastors in Syracuse. And he asked me, could I come up and preach their Men's Day service? They looked at me and said, tell them no. They said, we got snow already.
Wow.
A lot of it, you know. And I said, actually, I won't even be here. I'll be in Bermuda. So I'll get back to him. I said, but I thought about, I don't know if I want to go from Bermuda to Syracuse, go from a place where I'm walking around in shorts to go in a place where I got to wear boots and an overcoat. But anyway, I got back to him. But that couple said to me, would you pray for our daughter?
Wow.
Now, we started it, God of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
We brought it down to Jesus.
I like that, Lauren. I like that.
And I prayed for this family, prayed for Elise. She's suffering through what you talked about, anxiety and mental issues. This Anglo husband and wife. They asked me to pray for their family. See, that's what I'm talking about, right? When you are living in your purpose, when you are on your job, when you are gainfully employed, you don't have to, you don't have to talk about your employer. You know who your employer is. I know who my employer is. I'm not trying to impress you. I know who my boss is. I'm serving him. And he said, it's okay. Don't worry about it. You're going to get to the people that I'm sending you to, and you're going to do what I want you to do. Just do that. I'll take care of the rest. Just do that. And so people, you know, they call it, oh my God, I'm humbled by this, because people call me, ask me what I pray for, what I do. I'm like, why are you asking me? Because there's something about you. They don't even know what it is, but there's something about you. I think you can help me. That's how I got to know Michael.
Well, Lauren, you have a way of being interested in others. And your demeanor is invitational. I mean, you invite people to share. And then your smile is so contagious. And I've watched you also find a way to connect in some way with, oh, you know Ralph, or you know Susie. Oh yes, my mother used to. And you will find a way to connect where you pull them in within, they begin feeling like family, you know? And you do that with integrity.
Well, you know, it's funny because I look for, I guess I do it subconsciously, but I look for those points of connection, because there's always, you know, 7 degrees of separation. You know, if you look, you'll find a place where you connect with people. You know, there's a place of connection. The young lady that I talked about, who's with the major bank, and she's diversity, equity, inclusion, and said she had the roughest week of her life. I mentioned her.
Yes.
Well, our point of connection was the Rotary Club. But then as we got to talking, we found out we got a lot more in common. She's Muslim. She's none of those things. But you know what we had in common? That's really, she studied the martial arts. I studied the martial arts. She studied the same style of martial art. She truly outranked me. Truly outranks me. And I said, really? I said, oh my God, you got a brown belt? Oh, and I got excited. You got a brown. I said, you need to go back and get your black belt, because you were that close to it. You were that close. You know, she's back. She's gone back to get her shoulder, to get what we call, it's called the Shodan belt in Shotokan. And so I said to her last night, I said, I want to be there when they give you your belt. And I do. To see her get that belt, she's got children. I don't know if I told you this, but I got the presidential citation for volunteerism.
Wow.
And she came to that service. She didn't have to. She came. I said, wow, it's nice to see you. Just a handful of people came, but she was one of them. She says, I respect who you are. That means so much to me.
Oh, yes.
It means so much to me. You know, because a lot of times people take for granted the gifts that God has given to you. And you talked about the church hurt, the things that churches do to people, to their leaders, should be criminal, because it can damage people seriously. If I wasn't kind of the mindset that I understand that, you know, you are where you are because God put you there. The things that you're going through, you have to go through because he's taking you someplace else. And when you get there, you need to be prepared because of this experience. You know, and I talked about my mom dying and Bubby and I crying, you know, tears shedding. And I talked about, I can't see a person just on the basis of the color of their skin because it doesn't make any sense to me. Even my mother's death. When I think about me doing, I've done as many as 6 funeral services a week.
Wow.
A week. Funeral directors call me to do services because they say you connect with the people. They say, you know, this family, I know who I'm going to get to service you, and they call me. And if I'm not available, they're like, oh man, you know. And I'm not. I'm in New York. How many preachers are there? But I'm humbled by that because, you know, I think that the Lord set me up to be able to minister to people when they're going through grief and sorrow and help to lift their spirits. I did a funeral the other day. The gentleman literally passed away incarcerated. I didn't realize it at the time, but when I read his obituary, I saw that he went to a particular school, and my wife went to that school.
Oh, wow.
And I asked her if she knew this gentleman around the same age. She said, I think so. I think he was my boyfriend. I said, what? So I found that tickled me to no end. And so I got there talking, and I said, you know, I did a little research on my brother over here. I could do some more research too. And I talked to them about who this man was based upon who I know around him. And I met a gentleman there that evening whose wife is my cousin.
Wow.
It was, you know, as you can't make this stuff up, right?
No.
So that's what happens on a regular basis. And it is so humbling to me. And when I say that we have more in common than we do differences,
We do.
we do. But people don't look for they look for what's different. And so when I look at, you know, on the political landscape and I see what's going on in politics and I see the vitriol that takes place, it breaks my heart because you're missing the big picture. You're missing the love. You're totally missing the love. That's what's really important. You're missing it. Why? Because you want to get your way and you don't care about anybody else, just as long as you get what you want. You know, it doesn't matter what happens to anybody as long as you get what you want. Everybody else can, you know, to coin a phrase, can shove it.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't compute with me. You know, Joshua should be here. I say that does not compute. So, I don't get it. You know, I don't really get that. So, I don't know. So this question that I asked, you know, and when I pray about the questions that I place on the table, and I ask the question, it really challenges me too. In what ways am I using my God-given gifts, talents, and skills to benefit humanity? I ask myself the same question. What am I doing with it? I don't want to die with my music still in me.
Yes.
I don't want to do that. In fact, if anybody, if I should go before you and you happen to come to my homegoing service, when you look in the casket, I ought to look like a prune. I ought to look like I'm all used up.
Yes.
I want to be all used up. Nothing left to do but give my life, because everything else is gone.
Use me up and take me up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I won't need this body anymore.
No.
That's why I'm giving away all of my organs. When I die, they can have them all.
Wow, Lord.
Help somebody else. I'm already signed up for it. Just use them, because somebody can benefit. I said to him, I said, yeah, but I said, you don't want the eyes because I have terrible vision, right? And then someone said to me, yeah, but except for a person who has no vision.
Mm.
Okay, they can have the eyes too. I mean, what am I going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? The Lord promised me a new body. They will
That's right.
never get sick, never die. So what am I concerned about?
Mm-hmm.
Use them. And then if somebody else can live, if my living, if I can help someone along the way, then my living would not be in vain.
That's right.
So that's the way it goes. And so I hope I'm challenging some of our listeners, viewers, to really examine how you're using those gifts, talents, and skills that the Lord has given you. And are you willing to give them away? You can't, we sing a song, you can't beat God-given, no matter how you try. The more you give, the more he'll give to you. Just keep on giving, because it's really true. You can't beat God-given, no matter how you try.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that. I think, pour you out a blessing. The shepherd's psalm, my cup runneth over.
Yes.
Because the more you give, he just keeps pouring it in. And it just keeps running over. Given it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over shall men give unto your bosom. How many times is that written in scriptures in different ways? It's all about love. I mean, all of it, right? You can't give if you don't love. You won't do anything if you don't love.
Mm.
You won't. Why would you? Why would I want to sit down and take time to talk to somebody if I don't care about it?
Mm. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Mm.
You'll hear tonight, one of my viewers, she's not feeling well tonight. She said she wouldn't be here, but she said she was talking with someone, and she said, I used your line. I said, did you? She said, I sure did. And they just looked at me and said, wow. And what I do is I close every show the same way. I tell everyone, I'll preempt myself. I love you, and there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. So get used to it. So, and I mean that, John. I really do. When I look at people, I challenged a group the other day. I said, I'm going to challenge you. When you get into a space with other people, train, elevator, room, wherever, just look at them. Don't say anything. Don't say a word. Just look at them and think, I love you.
Wow.
I says, you'll see some strange things take place. They'll smile at you. Don't even know why. They'll look at you. Their whole disposition will change. Don't say anything. Just think it. I love you. And what happens when you do that, the chemistry changes in you, right?
It does. It does.
And when you look at someone and you think, I love you, The God in me, you know, in Hindu culture, I think it is, they call it namaste. The God in me recognizes the God in you. And I love you. And there's nothing you can do about it. And just as you begin to think, you know, what was his name? Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Well, think about how rich you'll become if you thought I love you when you looked at people.
Yes.
How wealthy would you be?
Yeah.
I mean, can I read this to you? Let me read this. I gotta read. This is amazing. I've read the story. This is really, really amazing. I think I read it before, but I'll read it to you. Take a minute, and then I'm gonna give you some time to say whatever you have to say. Listen to this. One day, in a small village, a woman saw 3 old men sitting outside her house. After a while, she went outside and said, "You've been sitting here for a long time. Why don't you come in and have something to eat?" The oldest man said, "You're very kind, but we're not allowed to go into a house altogether. You have to choose one of us to come inside." The woman was puzzled. "But how should I choose?" The man pointed to his friends. "This one is wealth. If he goes inside, your home will be filled with riches always. The other one is success. He will ensure you and your family are successful in everything you do. I am love. If I enter, your home will be filled with love for the rest of your lives." Unsure who to choose, the woman went inside to talk with her husband and their grown daughter. The husband said, "This is wonderful. Let's invite wealth. We'll never have to worry about money again." "But what about success?" the woman said. "Then we can achieve everything we want and the money will follow." Then their daughter said, wait, wouldn't it be better to fill our home with love? Then we'll be happy no matter what happens to us. The 3 of them talked it over for a long time. Finally, the husband and wife agreed that the daughter was right. All 3 went inside. The husband said, "Which one of you is love?" The first man got to his feet. The father bowed. "Please come in and share our meal." Love nodded and started walking to the house. The other 2 men rose and followed him. "Wait a minute," the woman said, confused. "You told me only one of you could come into the house. Why are you all coming now?" Love replied with a smile, "If you have invited only my brother Wealth or my brother Success into your house, the rest of us would have been bound to walk on. But because you have invited love, we are bound to go with him."
Oh, wow.
He put his arms around the other 2 men's shoulders. "You see, wherever there is love, wealth and success are sure to follow."
Wow. Where did you get that story?
That story is in a little book that I've been subscribing to for about 40 years, I guess. It's called Bits and Pieces. Bits and Pieces.
Bits and Pieces.
I've been subscribing to this. I don't know, I got hundreds of them. And they have these little stories. It's designed to give you inspiration. I get them every month. And different stories and different anecdotes and different little quips and things like that. Like for instance, I got here, what man actually needs is not attention's estate, but rather the striving and struggling for a worthwhile goal, a freely chosen task. So it's got little stuff in there little nuggets that are dropped all over the place. And they quote different people from all these different walks of life and things like that. And I happened to have come across it many years ago when I was in the insurance industry, and I would share those stories and things like that with my sales agents, just to give them some inspiration from time to time, and certainly helped me too. So I've never stopped subscribing to it. I've been subscribing to this little magazine for at least 40 years. You know, it's like a computer, right? Garbage in, garbage out.
No.
I try to keep putting good stuff in because I said, you know what? When you get squeezed, what's in you comes out.
But wow, you're the master of the phrase. You're the master of the phrase.
Yeah,
Wow.
listen. And I get squeezed quite a bit. So I said, you know what? I need to make sure I'm full of good stuff, because the bad stuff is easy. You know, it comes in all by itself. You have to do anything to get bad stuff, but you got to work to get the good stuff in. You really do. You really, really do.
Exactly.
You can't expect good things to come without work. Bad things just flow. They just come. So John, go ahead, take a couple minutes, say what you have to say. And the Lord has placed something on my heart that I want to share with everybody tonight. But and then I'll thank you for coming. But I want you to sort of share with us and give us your parting words or whatever, and then we'll close out.
What I believe is God's providence is beautiful to me. You first called me when we were in a building program, and you wanted to talk about how much could we really borrow at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But you went further than that. You said, where are you from? I said, Easley. And you said, Easley? You ever heard of Pickens? And then you talked about Dr. Scipio. And then you said, I even come down there at times. And the next thing I know, we're at a cafe sharing a meal and becoming brothers. You live what you talk about, Lauren Russell.
Mm.
You live what you talk about. Your vocation is pulling us together. You could have said, okay, I told you what you can learn, how much you ought to get, but you didn't stop there until you got to know me. And you will call me when you're coming to this area, and at least I know you're in the area. And if we can get together, it's even richer. So I think the question you're asking, if each of us would answer it, would make this world a better place. Because God has made each person unique and beautiful. And when we live out of our passions, out of our callings, even out of our brokenness, and we see the deep needs of this world, and we bring our passion to those deep needs, a lot of good can come. Mm. So that's my word to everyone who's listening. And I wish those who were listening, we could see your faces. Mm. Because you're more than someone putting words on a Facebook feed. You're a living, breathing, eternal person who has worth, who has value, who has meaning, and who could contribute to my life. Mm. So I want to thank you. Live out how God created you, because only you can do exactly what God wants you to do. So I applaud you. Keep at it.
Thank you, John. I so appreciate you. You have no idea. I think I talk about you frequently. You are my brother from another mother.
You are my brother from another mother. And I mean that, Lauren Russell. Yeah. I mean that from the depth of my heart. You inspire me. And we've had, now for those who are listening, we just don't pat each other on the back. We've talked about Malcolm X. Mm-hmm. We've talked about, we got another brother from another mother, Paul Thompson, mm-hmm. Who's at North Greenville University, associate academic dean. And we talk, but you see, when we discover how much we have in common, we can bring up the tough issues because we know what unites us.
Exactly.
That's how we can go deeper, because we first of all established a commonality, and we've broken spiritual bread and physical bread together, and we are united. And so we can bring up those issues that could be so divisive. Mm-hmm. But when you know you're at a feast with a brother, you can have some doggone good conversation. Yeah. And come out transformed. So thank you, my brother. Thank you.
You're welcome. I began the article this week when I wrote it with a series of questions. Have you ever wondered why you are able to do what you do? Have you ever asked yourself why you have the talents that you have? Are your gifts and talents for your enjoyment or your employment? I ask these questions because I wanted to challenge your thinking of what it means to be gainfully employed and what it means to be employed, period. The church in Corinth had a lot of issues, some of the same issues that the postmodern church has today. The remedy that Paul proposed then is the same remedy that can be proposed today. Get a job. There are diversity of gifts, talents, skills, and abilities that are given to kingdom builders. They are not meant to be divisive, but a unifying force. When you receive a gift of God, it's your responsibility to share it with others. Let me say that again. When you receive the gift of God, it's your responsibility to share it with others. We must keep in mind that gifts, talents, and skills are given to you with the intent of being passed through you. You must, and you're responsible to share it with others. An example is my weekend experience with Michael Bailey. Michael, an exceptional artist who draws and paints sports and entertainment celebrities. He envisions them in his mind, but until he puts pen, pencil, or brush to canvas, he's the only one who's blessed by that gift. However, once he expresses his inspiration on paper, the world is a better place because his gifts were given for his employment, not his enjoyment. But before you begin thinking that you can't enjoy what the Lord has blessed you with, remember what Jesus told his disciples. Quote, a woman, when she is in labor, has sorrow because her hour has come. But as soon as she has given birth to the child, she no longer remembers the anguish for joy that a human being has been born into the world. Therefore, you now have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart will rejoice, and your joy no one will take from you. You find that in John chapter 16, verses 21 and 22. When you have given birth to that which was on the inside, your employment becomes your enjoyment. Michael is a living example of someone who is gainfully employed, even though he has no roof over his head, a bed of his own, a table to dine. He says they call him Smiley because he's always smiling. Think about it. The birds have nests, foxes have holes, but Michael Bailey, this child of God, has nowhere to lay his head. I suggest that each of us take a long look at Michael Bailey and consider what it means to be gainfully employed. My guests, not one, but two, father and son, have shown us in personification what it means to be gainfully employed, using all of their God-given gifts, their talents and skills for the betterment of humanity. Or as Pastor John says, to invite everyone to the banquet table of Jesus Christ. What a pleasure, a pleasant surprise to have Joshua join his dad tonight. No longer the young teen I knew, but a gainfully employed ambassador for Christ. I'm grateful to both you, John, for carving out time, and for you, Joshua, for blessing us, this family of faith tonight. John, your transparency and your humility is always refreshing. And I'm so glad to see that it is likewise enveloped Joshua. This was an easy broadcast tonight, even though we didn't plan it that way. Based on the comments that were shared in the chat, I'm not the only one who felt that way. This was a great show tonight. John, thank you so much for your transparency. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for just your real commitment to being authentic. Now, I want you to check your schedule too, so we can plan for you and maybe both you and Joshua to visit with the Matters of Faith family again. So check your calendar. Let's make that happen, okay? I take that as a yes. Now, don't forget our advertisers and sponsors. The JLR company, J. Lauren R. Consulting, LLC. That's my companies. Those are my companies. For all your church financial needs, call 718-328-8096.
718-328-8096. Or you can visit our website, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. That's www.jlaurenrussell.com. It's not about the castle. It's about the kingdom. Matters of Faith, the book. Now, I've been talking about it all night. This is the book. You see, it's nice and thin. And the next book is going to be coming out shortly. I promise you that. But Matters of Faith, the book, you can get it at my Cash App, $ Matters of Faith. That's the hard copy. When you do that, make sure that you put your name and address there so that I can send it to you. I will sign it and make sure that you get it. I've been saying $22, but the cost of postage has been going up. The book is $23.92, which covers shipping and handling. Or you can get the ebook. Now, if you get the ebook, there's no shipping and no handling. www.smashwords.com/books/view/993-177. Better Mag Magazine. I want you to subscribe to this magazine. I really do. www.abettermag.com. They are now carrying Matters of Faith, the column. They publish once every they subscribe. The 2-year subscription is just $27.50. $27.50. www.abettermag.com. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Please. Text, telephone, email, message, any way you do it. But tell a friend to join us regularly on Monday nights, except next Monday night. I'm not going to be here next Monday night. I'm going to be on my anniversary celebration. So every Monday night, with the exception of next Monday night, the 23rd of October, for Matters of Faith, the radio show. We are always live on Matters of Faith and the J. Lauren Russell Facebook groups. When the show is over, we drop each episode on our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. That's why I ask you every week to subscribe, like, and share the Matters of Faith YouTube channel. You can watch Matters of Faith lying in your bed because it's on your television. So you can do that. Now, the Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. If no one told you this today, let me be the first to say that I love you and there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. So get used to it. God bless you and good night. Be well. We'll talk, and I'll see you the week after next. Remember, I will not be here next week. The week after next will be the next show. God bless you and good night.